For years, he always told us that he regretted selling his first car. And he always wished he'd kept it. So around the turn of the century, Gavin, Stephen, and myself, we started talking to him about perhaps he should buy another car, buy another DeSoto. So in 2009, he found one, and he sent me up to Binghamton, New York. I walked around the car, took a million pictures while I talked to him on the phone, and then he continued to negotiate with the seller, and eventually the next year, in 2010, then he came up with a deal, and he had it shipped to Galesburg, and he started work on it. I was there in June and helped him out a little bit in June, and he had it running in July. Steve drove it around the yard, and Steve and Gavin and I continued to help him fix it up.
Mostly, yeah, I worked on farms from the time I was in the 7th, 8th grades. I worked on nearby farms I could bicycle to. Right, and so I couldn't buy a car until I was, out of high school. And a 1931 DeSoto was my first car. And in fact, it was one that was old then, when you think about it, because that was 1954, and I paid $80 for it. Right, and then when I think back of it and know what was going on, it was a battery issue. It was the cold. It weakened the batteries so much it would hardly turn over. So I'd have to get my dad to push me, so it was always push the DeSoto. And once I, did that and got it turned over, why it would run. And once you had it started in the morning or something, why I was good for all day.
And then
I drove that to Western, to my classes and everything every day. FedEx. Yeah, and I had it delivered to Auto Remedies, which is Mike's garage, It was delivered to Auto Remedies, and we just pushed it off, and it was non-running,
And I think that was sometime in June.
Something like that.
That you got it delivered. And then, as I recall, I think you drove it around the yard, or Steve did, the first time right after the 4th of July.
Right. And once we got the fuel system, straightened out, so that, and we knew it was, getting electrical. We had checked that out, and then as soon as we got the fuel system, checked out or cleared out, because we had to blow it out, everything, and then it started right up.
How'd you handle the fuel tank? What'd you do with that?
We put a bladder in it, so you can put a small bladder in there.
It's just...
Yes, unrestored to the extent that I did do the interior, see. So the headliner and all of that was redone. But the motor, all of that is as was.
Just repaired as necessary.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they wanted some kind of a car. They had Plymouth and they had Chrysler, but they wanted some kind of, engineers worked on it, and they come up with the DeSoto. And so they made the first DeSoto in 1929, and they made them right straight through till 1963. Yeah, the thing with Walter Chrysler, he had Chrysler as a high-end car, and he had Plymouth as the low end. So he wanted something middle priced. And then it wasn't too long after that, believe it or not, the Dodge brothers each died in the same year. And so then it went back to the family, and the family didn't want anything to do with the business. And so then Walter Chrysler was able to buy that at an extremely low price. And so then he ended up with Dodge Brothers, so he didn't do anything more with the DeSoto. Right. I was one of the things we did there. I'm on the education committee, and one of the things that our committee did was kind of to take a station in the museum someplace and be a specialty person on it. And so they would come to maybe the 50s cars, and somebody would be more knowledgeable about the 50s cars than any other cars, and could explain those in detail. And so I had the service station. I had the Shell station, because I used to work at one when I was in high school. And so I demonstrated what a service station attendant did. And to do that, I needed the car that was a vintage car. And so I took my DeSoto out there and parked it in front of the pumps. And that was a 1930s gas station with a 1930s car.
So you tested the high speed on the DeSoto. You took
Did it on I-94.
Yeah.
So at the time, I-94 wasn't done, wasn't complete. We knew where we could get on it as kids now, remember, and where it ended. And you didn't want to drop off that end because there was about a 3-foot drop from where the pavement ended until you hit something. And so we knew where we could get on it, and then we would, check our speeds and everything on that segment of I-94, race each other and so forth. And I got 70 miles an hour on it. Oh, the bootleggers and the bootleggers running booze, and the police had generally Model A's, Model A Fords, and top speed on those were probably 40, 45 miles an hour or better. And then the DeSoto, as I just said, had a top speed of 70 miles an hour. So they walked all over the Model A's. I think about 65 or 70 horsepower. If you rev this up, like in second gear, and then you don't let it come back down on the idle, then you grind the gears.